Welcome to episode 23 of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in today. I am your host, Rachel Joy Olson. In this episode, you will learn the difference between a typical vegan diet and one that is whole food plant-based to give you a better idea of which one may be better for you, as well as learn what foods are best to eat before and after a workout to allow you to perform at your best and recover properly to prevent injury and see the best results. Let's start today by defining what a vegan diet really is. A vegan diet is defined by the Vegan Society as a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as it is possible and practical, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purposes. So essentially, if somebody chooses to eat or live a vegan diet, or really a vegan lifestyle, they are saying, you know what, I don't want to contribute to any exploitation of animals whatsoever. And I would even branch that a little bit further now to say, a lot of people are going vegan for the environment as well. So let's talk about the top three reasons why people choose to embrace a vegan diet. So number one, actually, the number one reason, according to many surveys, is that people choose to go vegan for ethical reasons. Eating a diet rich in animal products means that one is contributing to the suffering, cruel treatment, and killing of animals. No matter what marketing, propaganda tell us, there is no humane way to kill a living being. And I hear this a lot. You know, they're not suffering, it's really fast, but, you know, a friend of mine put it this way, and it's a little graphic, but he did say, you know, if I take a girl out on a date and I treat her well and I take her for dinner and I tell her the whole time, you know, you're so amazing, and I treat her really well, and then at the last second, I put a gun to her head, is that humane? And I know it seems pretty hardcore, but it's unfortunately true, right? There's just no humane way to kill a living being, no matter what kind of justification we would like to put into it. The sad part is that due to the high demand of meat, dairy, and egg products, factory farms have turned raising and killing animals into nothing more than a heartless money-making business that has zero regard for the animals or even the humans working in these factories. So sometimes people will say, well, I don't really care about the animals. Now, of course, that breaks my heart because unfortunately, over 60% of the natural world that we live in is gone because of that attitude, right? But we're also, you know, the people who are all for the people forget that human beings need to work in these factories, and the incidence of suicide, depression, anxiety, and all sorts of other health issues are really high in these humans that have to work in these factories. You know, so therefore choosing to no longer eat animals is one of the most ethical choices we can make, because, you know, you're making it because you love animals and have a respect for all living things, right? No longer eating animals means one chooses to no longer support this cruel, inhumane, and unnecessary business model. So scientists, politicians, really people around the world are now starting to look at this and say, well, first of all, I mean, ethics aside, is this even sustainable? Right? So this brings us to the second reason why people go vegan is the environment, right? As we have seen in recent media coverage, and not even in recent, this has been a conversation for decades, right? On we need to pay attention to what's happening to our environment and stop destroying it, right? Like I mentioned, 60% of our natural wild world is gone. And that's due to increased population in the world, increased agriculture. So, you know, unfortunately, eating a diet in animal-based products is extremely detrimental to the environment. So clearing rainforest for agricultural pastures is extremely detrimental to our planet. And the unfortunate part about it is that the rainforest contains not only an abundance of wildlife, trees that we need for oxygen, and you know those trees love to take in CO2, but there's also medicine in the rainforest that has been used by natural practitioners for centuries. Unfortunately, according to many resources, raising animals for food requires massive amounts of land, food, energy, and water. The high demand for meat, dairy, and eggs has resulted in large factory farming and many negative effects in the environment, such as pollution and the destruction of rainforests. Therefore, those of us who do choose to no longer consume or use animal products will reduce this destruction and help preserve the health of the planet. So again, if you look at what the scientists are saying, and a lot of naturalists or whatever you want to call them, somebody like David Attenborough's recent documentary, for example, he even says in there, that a plant-based or plant-rich diet is the way to stop or even slow down some of this destruction. So I think what it comes down to is we all need to start being a little bit more conscious of, where we're headed. What's our future? Are we going to be leaving a planet for our children or grandchildren, right? So it's a big question that I often ask people when they say, well, I don't really care. Then you kind of think, well, okay, you've got a 1-year-old. What's her future look like? In 80 years, if we keep going the way we're going, they won't have a future, right? There won't be a natural world left, unfortunately. Oh, yes, I know. I didn't really mean to turn this into such a depressing subject, but, it doesn't have to be depressing, right? I always suggest to people, there's no sense getting depressed over it and putting our heads in the sand, but this topic is an opportunity, right? We just need to turn it around from a depressing topic to looking at it as an opportunity. We have an opportunity right now to make a big difference in our world. So you kind of got to say, well, how am I going to contribute? Or what sort of opportunities do I have in my own life? So let's move on to the third biggest reason why people choose to go vegan, and that is for health reasons. Many decades of research studying the effects of eating animal-based foods and its effect on health have proven that there are more negative outcomes than positive. Animal-based diets have been shown to increase risk for chronic conditions such as heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, whereas a diet rich in plant-based foods has been proven to prevent and even reverse such diseases. Many healthcare professionals now are recommending a more plant-rich diet to their clients, and many consumers who desire to have good health are now choosing to eat less or to cut out animal-based foods completely. If you look at restaurants, more and more mainstream restaurants are offering plant-based meals on the diet or on the menu. And interestingly enough, this is not for the vegan community. I was actually listening to the Plant Proof podcast by Simon Hill. Love it, by the way. Go check it out if you want to learn more about this topic. But he was interviewing somebody, and the guy said, those menu items aren't for vegans. It's not a big enough population yet. It is for people who do still choose to eat animal-based products, but are choosing a little bit more of a healthier diet, right? These plant-based food options are lower in calories. They're usually completely void of saturated fat. People are, whether people choose to eat a little bit of meat or not, are still choosing these plant-based options because they are taking a little bit better care of their health. 60 to 70% of North Americans are in the overweight or obese category. This is an epidemic. This is a huge epidemic. And it's a topic that, we're not shutting the world down over this epidemic, which kind of actually blows my mind. Why are we not taking such red flag measures for the obesity epidemic, which causes far more deaths every year than any virus, whether it's a flu, whether it's cold, whether it's whatever. It takes the lives of so many people and of all ages. Young children are now being shown with as many as 4 precursors for heart disease. And it's all because of lifestyle. So there's definitely things that we can do to change. Now, even if you're not into going fully plant-based, maybe cutting it down a little bit. My mom always calls herself a flexitarian. If she wants to eat a little piece of meat, she will. But she wants to make sure the majority of her food on her plate is fruits and vegetables, which is now what even the Canada Food Guide is showing, which is fantastic, is it's showing that really technically 3/4 of the plate should be in plant-based foods. If you look at the Canadian Food Guide, it shows half the plate to be fruits and vegetables, a quarter of the plate to be protein from a variety of sources, including plant-based proteins, and then a quarter of the plate to be from whole grains. So really, if you look at that, 3/4 to a full plate to be in plant-based foods. So people, even health professionals, thank goodness, and governments are starting to realize, hey, you know what? We need to do something, and nutrition is in direct correlation to health. But the question I have for you today, and a lot of people have asked me this, but is eating a vegan diet the healthiest choice? Yes and no. I know a lot of vegans who are completely unhealthy, but I also know a lot of vegans who are some of the healthiest people I've ever known. Research has proven that eating a diet rich in plants is the only way to prevent and reverse chronic disease, and the American Dietetic Association agrees that eating a well-balanced vegan diet is healthier than animal-based diets. Then the question remains, why are so many vegans unhealthy? I love this question because it is one I get asked a lot. So at a visit to my naturopath, the first time I met her, I've never gone to her before, but I wanted to get some testing done. And after she found out I was vegan, she looked at me with this surprised look on her face and said, I can't believe you've been vegan for over 10 years. You look so healthy. Most vegans I see are malnourished. And the sad fact is she's right. Many vegans are not getting adequate nutrition, and they're certainly not eating a healthy diet, a diet that they need to maintain good health and long term. And many people choose sometimes to go vegan because it's kind of touted as, oh, you're going to lose weight and blah, blah, blah. But then they don't. And some of them even get sick when they're on a vegan diet. So why is this happening? I often hear of people who have been vegan for a while and then choose to go back to eating meat because they just felt they weren't getting enough protein. Well, that's not true either. It has nothing to do with protein, right? Much research exists to prove that when you are eating a well-balanced vegan or plant-based diet rich in whole, mostly raw foods, you not only get more than enough protein, but you also eat more foods that are rich in phytochemicals, which are plant-based, really the nutrition that we need, vitamins and minerals that help heal the body and give you energy and keep you young. The problem is most people who choose a vegan lifestyle are not seeing the best health results or results in general for a variety of different reasons. So the very first reason why, now this is a big reason why a lot of people go back from a vegan diet to eating meat, is that people just cut out meat. And then they begin to eat nothing but vegetables like salads, for example. Yes, eating salads and a variety of greens is good for you, but they cannot be the only source of food. There's just not enough nutrition and calories for one to live off of. So for example, 6 ounces of beef contains 500 calories, 26 grams of fat, 52 grams of protein, and 0 carbohydrates and fiber. Whereas 3 cups of spinach contains 23 calories, 0.3 grams of fat, 3 grams of protein, 3.8 grams of carbohydrates, and 2.4 grams of fiber. So if you stop eating beef and replace this with nothing but a simple green salad or spinach leaves, that's a huge difference in calories. It's no wonder people don't feel good when they make the switch from eating animal products to eating like rabbits. They just simply don't have enough fuel in their body for it to run effectively. So it's really important to eat a variety of foods that provide you with enough calories. And then, of course, the nutrients will come when you're eating a well-balanced diet. But this is important to have enough calories to keep the body functioning at its optimal level. Because you will feel hungry if you drop down from 500 calories, let's say a 500 calorie meal, if not more, because you're not just eating a slab of beef. So if you go away, let's say your whole meal is 700 calories, let's just say as an example, and then you drop down to a 150 calorie salad. There's no way you're going to sustain that. You're going to feel weak, you're going to feel lightheaded, and you're going to all of a sudden go, I'm not getting enough protein. Right? But it has nothing to do with the protein and everything to do with the calories. Now, if you look at the difference between spinach and, again, that beef, 52 grams of protein in the beef, but only 25% of it, and that's max. 25% of it is even usable by the body. Rest of it is waste. And of course, you've got all the saturated fat that our body just doesn't need, and it clogs the arteries. where the 3 grams of protein that come from, let's say, spinach, for example, or there's higher protein foods that we'll talk about in a bit, 75% or more in some plant-based foods, 100% of the protein is actually usable in the body. So it's much more energy efficient and effective to get protein from plant-based foods. Now, the second reason that people who think their vegan diet isn't working for them are likely eating too much processed junk food. This is one of the biggest reasons why people don't lose weight or improve their health when they switch to a vegan diet. When I first went vegan, there was hardly any vegan fast food or treat items on the shelves. I had to make my own. There are many delicious vegan foods out there now, though, such as breads, pasta, fake meats, cakes, cookies, chips, and ice cream. But these foods, regardless of what diet you're eating, are junk food. You cannot live on this stuff and expect to be healthy. It's just not going to work. For any diet to be healthy, junk food just cannot be consumed on a regular basis. These foods are only meant to be consumed as occasional treats, not a daily indulgence. Just because something is labeled vegan does not mean it's healthy. If you can be an unhealthy vegan, the question is, can you be a healthy vegan? For many years, I said I ate a vegan diet. However, recently, I'm not a huge fan of that term. The reason is that too many people are eating a junk food vegan diet and not taking care of their health in a way that reflects respect and compassion for the body. So it's really important that, the number one thing that I teach in my coaching program is that nutrition and exercise is not the number one important thing to lose weight and get results. The number one way to really get the results you want in your life, whether that's, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever, financial, whatever it happens to be, is you absolutely have to have love, respect, and compassion for yourself. This will be reflected in the choices that you make. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not always perfect either, and I love nothing more than to indulge in a vegan cupcake, a cookie, a cinnamon bun, or ice cream, some of my absolute favorite foods. But this really can't happen on a daily basis if you want to lose weight or achieve optimal health. Now, the best way to get the best results, optimal health and performance, and to lose weight, get rid of that extra body fat, is to eat a whole food plant-based diet. And if you're not ready to go fully plant-based, a whole food diet in general is the best, right? That is well-balanced and full of variety. So a whole food plant-based diet, this type of diet includes a variety of foods from these categories. Number 1, vegetables. Vegetables should make the absolute most bulk of your diet. Fruits. Fruits are full of vitamins and minerals and fiber. And some that, you can't get from other foods. So if you cut out fruits, you're missing out on a lot. Legumes. This includes your beans and lentils, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. So therefore, to answer the question, is a vegan diet the healthiest choice? The answer is no, if it is filled with nothing but processed junk food. But if it is rich in whole plant-based foods, then yes, it is absolutely the healthiest way to eat. Now, what if you're an active person or an athlete looking to build muscle and improve performance? Will you still get enough protein and other fuel you need to see positive results? Again, a big question I get a lot from people that join my coaching program. And this is another astounding yes. So most of us, when you think about an athlete, what do you see in your mind? Maybe it's a big guy with big bulging muscles eating 10,000 calories a day and chicken, all right, which happens a lot. Or a really cut female with 6-pack abs drinking a whey protein shake. Now, unfortunately, this is often the stereotypical thought of an athlete, but it's not always the case. In my opinion, an athlete is anyone who takes care of their body and strives to regularly get and perform better with each workout. To get better, not only do your workouts need to be well planned out and at a level of intensity that pushes you out of your comfort zone, but your nutrition needs to support your activity, your recovery and repair of tissues after your workout. All you really have to do, if you're wondering if this style of diet will support you, you just have to do a little Google search on some of the world's top vegan athletes, And you will see how these athletes thrive on a whole food vegan diet, and you will see how amazing they look and perform. When you're active, you are prone to oxidative stress and inflammation in the body that ultimately breaks down tissues in the body, causes cells to die, and eventually can result in injury. This happens because as you work out, there are byproducts such as lactic acid and free radicals that are released as a result of the use of oxygen and other products as fuel. Think of it this way. When you put gas in your car and burn the gas as you drive, there is a byproduct of exhaust released into the air, similar to exercise. If you look at the science of how the body functions during exercise, you will see that your muscle cells primarily depend on mitochondria to create energy through a process called phosphorylation. A buildup of free radicals in the body will then attack your mitochondria, which will then produce less energy. As a result, your muscle cells will switch to a process called anaerobic glycolysis to make up for the energy loss. Unfortunately, when the body overuses this form of energy production, too much lactic acid will build up in the muscles and muscle fatigue will set in. Of course, there's so much more to that process. I won't get into it now, but you kind of get the idea. Lactic acid can be detrimental. It also can be used as fuel though, but too much acid in the body. So think acid. What is acid? It's going to break down muscle tissue. Okay, the only way an athlete or active person can be sure to reduce oxidative stress and prevent breakdown of tissues and injury is to consume an adequate amount of antioxidants, which are the foods that prevent and reduce inflammation in the body, right? We don't want to have too much inflammation or acid in the body, or it'll just start eating away at the tissues. But plant foods are high in antioxidants and are anti-inflammatory, where unfortunately animal products such as meat, animal fat, and dairy have been proven time and time again to be acidic and cause inflammation. This is why many athletes nowadays are turning to a plant-based diet to fuel their performance and see quicker and better recovery. So let's review a few things to consider when choosing a plant-based diet. Eating a diet rich in plant-based foods is proven to be healthy and a nutrient-dense way to feed the body. However, it's not just about cutting out meat, as I talked about already. It's important to be sure that you're eating a wide variety of nutrient-dense foods and not just eating refined and processed carbohydrates, which is the mistake most people make. You truly cannot live on pasta alone. Can you eat pasta once in a while? Sure, but you can't live off of it. When choosing a vegan diet, it's important to ask these few questions, I should say. Where will you get your protein? One of the biggest questions that people ask. How will you get the vitamins and minerals you need for optimal health? What healthy fats need to be included in your diet? What foods are best to eat before a workout and what foods are best to eat after a workout? So let's discuss each one of these things. So let's start with the first one. Where will you get your protein? Most athletes, actually people in general, are worried they won't get enough protein when they make the switch to a plant-based diet. But this is absolutely untrue. And it's a misconception that has come from the animal industry to get people to buy more of their products instead of plant-based sources of protein. Plant foods are extremely rich in highly bioavailable sources of protein. What bioavailable means is that your body can actually use it. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you eat a wide variety of foods to ensure you get all the 9 essential amino acids. Science shows that an endurance athlete requires about 0.8 to 1.3 grams of protein per kilogram, not pounds, per kilogram of body weight. And a strength athlete needs up to 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, when compared to the requirement of carbohydrates, so listen to this. So let's say a strength athlete needs up to 1.7 grams. That's about the highest we would really recommend. This compared to 6 to 10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight for carbohydrates. This proves that protein should be the least of your worries, right? If you are an athlete, you absolutely want to fuel your body with clean carbohydrates, Okay, so whether you're an endurance athlete, whether you're a strength athlete, carbohydrates are more important. However, protein still is important for recovery and repair of tissues, but not for energy. So let's go through a few of the high protein foods that you'll want to add into your diet. A couple of the ones that I love, legumes absolutely have to be in the diet. These are your beans and lentils. Think about it this way, only a half a cup of legumes is anywhere between 15 to 26 grams of protein. So it depends on whether you're eating lentils and which bean, because they all have different levels of protein. But legumes are super rich in protein, and the medical health experts in this field, like Dr. Michael Greger, always say that legumes need to be eaten every single day. Half to 1 cup of legumes daily to get enough, of course, plant-based protein, but fiber being extremely important. Tofu, only half a cup of tofu is 20 grams of complete protein. So tofu actually, which is made from the soybean, has all the 9 essential amino acids that you need. It is a complete protein as much as any animal product is. Now, the discussion of tofu is a whole other podcast episode, and I will get into that one of these days because I think it's really important. But tofu and soy is not evil. It is actually extremely nutritious for the body. It's just the kind of tofu or soy that you eat. It must be a non-GMO, so a non-genetically modified and organic soybean. Now, I know a lot of people that are animal eaters, but they're completely against soy. And I kind of laugh at that only because the majority of your animal products now, these animals have been fed genetically modified soy in their diet. So you might not be eating the soy directly, but you are eating the soy indirectly. And unfortunately, the soy that animals are given, like I said, it's genetically modified and not good for even human consumption. They don't grow that soy for humans. They grow it for animals. And humans shouldn't be eating it. So why are we feeding our food that's supposed to nourish us with soybeans? Number one, usually these animals shouldn't even have soy in their diet because it's just not what they should eat. But we're feeding them with genetically modified soy that isn't even acceptable for human consumption. Like, it's so weird. It doesn't make any sense. So tofu, soy, absolutely not evil. Super amazing source of complete protein. A couple of other sources of complete protein actually are hemp seeds. So even a 1/4 cup of hemp, which is a lot. You'd probably only have a tablespoon or 2 at a time. But a 1/4 cup is 15 grams of complete protein. So 1 or 2 tablespoons of that every day, and you've got some really great complete protein. Quinoa is also another complete protein. So a lot of people would think, oh, that's just a carbohydrate. It's not. It's actually a balance between complete protein and healthy carbohydrates. So lots of fiber in it as well. Almonds, a 1/4 cup of almonds has 8 grams of protein. Soy milk, even 8 ounces, has 4 to 8 grams of protein. Sunflower seeds, a 1/4 cup of that, 7.3 grams of protein. Even sesame and poppy seeds have 5.4 grams of protein per 1/4 cup. Oatmeal, half a cup, is 5 grams of protein and, of course, an abundance of fiber. So if you look at oats or even chia seeds, which have 2 grams of protein per tablespoon, you'll notice that when you let them soak in water, they go kind of jelly, right? They get that jelly kind of substance. Well, that is actually really good for pulling toxins out of the body. So oats and chia seeds, something really important to have in the diet, if not daily, on a regular basis. Broccoli, 1 cup of broccoli is 4.3 grams of protein. And again, keep in mind, all these proteins that we're talking about here is 75% usable, if not up to 100% usable in the body. So for example, spirulina or blue-green algae is shown to be used 100% of its nutrients, protein included, is used in the diet. There is no waste that comes from consuming blue-green algae. Super amazing source of protein as well as other healing nutrients. And I suggest having at least a teaspoon, if not half a tablespoon each day, as long as the body can take it. Leafy greens, even 2 cups, 2.1 grams of protein. So yes, there is protein in your leafy greens. Higher amounts of protein in your dark leafy greens, such as spinach and kale. lots of protein in those. And there's actually even a gram of protein for every 1 tablespoon of raw cacao. Yes, people, that is your chocolate. So in real raw chocolate, you're even getting your protein. This is just, a short list for sure. If you want more information about plant-based sources of protein, shoot me an email or find me on Facebook or Instagram at R.J.O Wellness. Send me a message and I will send you my 19 best sources of plant-based protein for vegetarians and vegans article. So this will have, what I just went through as well as so much more. Okay, so when you eat a combination of these foods, it will provide you with a complete profile of amino acids. Like I already said, some plant-based protein sources, including soy, tofu, quinoa, hemp seeds, buckwheat as well, contain all 9 essential amino acids and are complete proteins. So the next thing you'll want to consider when making the switch to a plant-based diet is how will you get the vitamins and minerals you need for optimal health? Well, the cool thing is that eating a wide variety of fruits and veggies will guarantee that you'll get enough vitamins and minerals. However, if you find you're unable to eat enough of these foods each day, you might want to consider, and this is what I do and recommend that a lot of my clients do, is take a whole food supplement just to ensure you're getting enough of these nutrients. If you're ever wondering which whole food supplements that I use, again, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to share that with you. And it's made a huge difference for me. I mean, not only for my energy, but my skin, my hair, my nails, and just gives me that knowledge that if I can't eat the best in a day, let's be serious, we can't all eat to perfection every day. Just that whole food supplement helps me get the nutrition that I need. So if you're, like I said, shoot me a message if you're interested in learning more about that. As mentioned before, it's important to eat foods that are rich in antioxidants. So you'll know if food is rich in antioxidants when they're bright colors, like carrots, peppers, tomatoes, oranges, beets, lemons. These foods all reduce inflammation in the body. However, it's important to be aware of getting enough vitamins and minerals, including your fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins such as B12 and minerals such as magnesium. Now, of course, I'm talking about, vitamins and minerals specifically here, but I want you to be aware that when we're eating a variety of these foods and we're getting whole food nutrition, it is better for you than taking a synthetic vitamin supplement. So I absolutely do not recommend a synthetic vitamin supplement unless the doctor has recommended one for a specific issue. But to make sure you're getting kind of that whole panel, you want to get the majority of your vitamins and minerals from whole foods. But fat-soluble vitamins, sometimes like vitamin D, can be more difficult to obtain if you're eating a nutrient-deficient diet. But if you eat a whole food plant-based rich diet, it does become easier. Magnesium-rich foods like leafy lean vegetables and almonds, these foods are great for increasing cellular energy production, reducing muscle cramps. I've got a whole bunch of information. You might want to even go back to the episode where I talk about what are micronutrients in an earlier episode, because this will teach you all about, what vitamins and minerals that you definitely want to have and where should your focus be. But if you're kind of like, okay, so I want to eat all these whole foods, you're telling me I need all these whole foods, now where do I start? Well, if you, again, connect with me, shoot me an email, find me on Facebook or Instagram, send me a message, I'll send you a recipe book that's full of whole food nutrient-rich recipes that you can make and enjoy, and it'll be a great place to get started. So you'll also want to consider where you will get and what fats are needed to be included in your diet, because fat is important. So healthy fats are important for optimal health and performance as well. Healthy fats are responsible for optimal nerve, brain, and heart function, as well as support the health of hair, skin, and nails. So when you've got those healthy fats, your hair, your skin, and nails will just look amazing. Things like nuts, seeds, avocados, and olives, rich in really great healing anti-inflammatory fats, but they are higher in calories. So if you are looking to keep your calorie intake up, they are a really great source. So not only of great nutrition, great anti-inflammatory properties, but will boost those calories a little bit. Eating algae, foods like spirulina and chlorella, as well as, of course, if you wanted to, take a plant-based omega supplement. These are great sources of anti-inflammatory omega-3, 6, 9, 12, kind of 7, all of them that are great to add to the diet. And that's another thing, is that taking a plant-based omega supplement is critical. It is key because, a lot of people are kind of told to take the fish-based supplement, but it doesn't make any sense because fish are just the middlemen. Fish don't make omega fats in their little bodies. Fish eat chlorella, spirulina, algae, those sorts of things, and then it gets kind of transferred and pushed into their little bodies, where why aren't we just going for their food, right? Let's just eat the algae. We're lucky these days it is accessible. So again, if you want to know what plant-based omega I take, shoot me a message, be happy to share. And I can also send you, I'll post the article, How to Get Fat-Soluble Vitamins on a Vegan Diet. I'll post that article to the show notes page. So for podcast episode 23 show notes. If you're an athlete or active person, many of you will likely want to know, well, what foods are best to eat before a workout? So this is a common question I get from my clients. As there's so much information out there, it's often hard to know what's right. Fueling the body before and after the workout is just as important, if not more important, than the workout itself. If the body doesn't have the fuel it needs for energy, you will not perform at your best. And I see this all the time. People coming into the workout, having not eaten anything, trying to do a high intensity activity workout. It just doesn't make any sense. The body needs fuel to perform. You would never see a high performance athlete working out to their best on no food. It just wouldn't happen. Right? There's really a lot of science behind nutrition and how it fuels the body, but I won't get into that too much now because it is a lot, and sometimes, the eyes will start glazing over. But what you need to remember is that short duration, high intensity training, also called anaerobic training, requires and uses carbohydrates, also called glycogen, to fuel the muscles. If you do not have enough carbs in your diet, you will not have enough glycogen in your muscles or brain to allow you to perform at your best. If you're doing more low intensity, long duration, or also called aerobic training, that's when the body taps into fat stores to use as fuel. That's why it's important to mix up your workouts, but more importantly, train in a way that's specific to your desired outcome. For example, if you want to run a marathon and do really well in it, then you will want to train at low intensity, longer duration activities to train your body to tap into fat stores to keep you fueled for the duration of the marathon. However, if you want to improve your performance as a hockey or soccer player, then you will want to train at high intensity, low duration interval training with lots of good recovery between intervals to train the body to fully replenish carbohydrate and glycogen stores between each round. Now let's talk about pre and post workout nutrition. The best foods to eat before a workout are those rich in simple carbohydrates. These are carbohydrates that are quickly digested and upload to the bloodstream for immediate energy. This fast-acting energy will give you enough fuel to get you through your workout. So some pre-workout examples of this include dates. These are power-packed fruits, and they're rich in fast-acting sugar and fiber. They won't be too heavy in the stomach and are perfect to eat just before a workout. So I'll often eat 2 or 3 dates about 15 minutes before a workout. It doesn't sit heavy. So for those of you who are like, oh, I just cannot eat before a workout, no problem. Have 1 or 2 dates. It'll give you a shot of that carbohydrate energy that you need, and it'll likely help you get through. Fruit juice or coconut water. So let's just say you're like, I cannot have food in my diet. I just can't eat before a workout. So sometimes drinking a juice or coconut water will also give you some fast-acting sugar you need to fuel your workout. And this will then you won't have to have something heavy in your stomach. So if you just can't have any food in your stomach, making sure you are drinking. I love coconut water for that because coconut water is very hydrating, as it's also an electrolyte-rich drink. Fruit smoothie is really great to have about 30 to 60 minutes before your workout. I often do a green vegetable and fruit. Some people can't do that though. Sometimes veggies and fruits together mixed don't feel very good in the stomach, so you'd have to trial and error that. And of course, you wouldn't want to be drinking a big smoothie just before you go into your workout. So make sure it's 30 to 60 minutes before, so it gives your body a little bit of an opportunity to digest it. Any kind of fruit is perfect before a workout. So let's say an apple or banana. I personally love bananas before a workout. They're easy to digest. They provide fast-acting sugars to the bloodstream and give me a little bit of fiber to kind of get through the workout. Oatmeal, I talked about oatmeal earlier. I love it. It's one of my favorite breakfast things, but oatmeal is great for fuel if you have about an hour to an hour and a half before your workout. So you wouldn't want to be eating a big bowl of oatmeal topped with bananas and nuts sort of thing about 30 minutes before. It'll just sit way too heavy. So if you've got about 60 to 90 minutes before your workout, oatmeal by far the best, especially if you need a little bit more of a longer term energy. The sugars from oatmeal will be released a little slower and will provide you with more energy to get through an intense and maybe even a longer workout. So let's talk now about what foods are best to eat after a workout. So it is just as important to fuel your body after a workout as it is before. The only difference from before to after is that after a workout, you'll want to consume a carbohydrate, which will replenish the stored energy in your muscles and liver that you just depleted in your workout, as well as a protein source, which will help your body repair the broken down tissue and recover from your workout. Now, a lot of people forget that when we're working out, we're actually breaking the body down. Well, if we're constantly working out, constantly breaking the body down without fueling our body properly to recover that broken down tissue, you're going to end up injured. Okay, so think of your post-workout nutrition as your way to repair those broken down tissues. That's why a lot of people say that your results are made in the kitchen, number one, but you also get your results from rest days, right? So that's why it's important not to work out super hardcore 6-7 days a week. You have to have the rest days and the time to recover those tissues. So after workout examples, oatmeal with some sort of nuts or nut butter. Again, I already talked how oatmeal is awesome. It's rich in healthy carbohydrates as well as protein. And nut butter or nuts are also rich in protein and even healthy fats. This is really, truly a perfect post-workout combo. Let's say you head right home to have dinner. So something like a tofu stir fry would be really great. You got a blend of tofu, which is your complete protein, your veggies and brown rice, high in carbohydrates, and this combination will definitely help your body recover and repair. A protein shake, so you can add a shot of your favorite plant-based protein powder to your fruit smoothie, and voila, you got a grab and go meal to get you home from the gym. So I usually suggest that people if let's say you're leaving the gym and it's going to be a while before you eat dinner, so you're not just walking in the door and eating dinner, you definitely want to be eating something within 30 minutes after your workout. That's going to be the most optimal time for your body to take up the carbs and protein. So take your favorite plant-based protein powder, throw it in a shaker cup with some coconut water or just even some water or plant-based milk, and drink that before you get home. Makes a big difference. A lot of my clients who I get doing that, who weren't before, say it's completely life changer. They have way different energy and feeling so much better. Protein bar you can also do as well. If you don't have enough time to make a smoothie or meal, you can keep a protein bar in your bag and eat it while driving home. I usually suggest not to get too caught up in protein bars though. I would rather see you have a banana or an apple and a handful of nuts than a protein bar. And the reason for that is because remember, in order to have the best results, we want whole foods as much as we can. And of course, a protein bar isn't a whole food. It's a processed food. Fruits like apple, banana, again, with almond butter, even peanut butter. Peanut butter is super high in fat. High in fat, yes, good healthy fats, but also protein. Just want to make sure you are eating an organic peanut butter. Homemade energy balls. So if you really love being in the kitchen, I'll post a recipe for energy bliss balls that I like to make. And these are great for after a workout because they're simple, easy to throw in your gym bag or have in your bag. And they're whole food, right? So it's not a packaged protein bar. It's something that you've made with whole nutrition. A piece of toast with nut butter. If you're not far from home, you can make this simple snack when you get home. One of my favorites. This is actually a decent, if you got about 60 to 90 minutes before your workout, I kind of like this one as well. Handful of nuts, dried fruit, easy to pack in your bag and help you recover your workout with healthy carbs, fats, and proteins. And then another one I love is like hummus and veggies, or hummus and a really great crackers like a Mary's cracker, which is a little bit more whole food, or even better, your own maybe flax crackers that you've made. This is the perfect snack post-workout as chickpeas, which is usually what hummus is made of, super rich in protein and carbohydrates. So really, really great to have after a workout. So when you think about it, a vegan or plant-based diet isn't about what you're not eating. It's really about what you are eating. You can by far get enough nutrition by eating only plant-based foods, and science proves that it is better for performance and recovery than an animal-based diet. Here's the reality. A vegan diet, as many scientists are showing, is the way of the future. And it's not only healthier, but it's more sustainable for the environment. So why start now? Because likely we will all have to do this at some point to help save our planet. So if you're thinking about making the switch to a vegan or whole food plant-based diet and have no idea where to start, then I suggest learning as much as you can about the proper nutrients and how many calories you will need to sustain your activity. Trust me, this is not easy to do on your own. I have studied this information for many years and have done a lot of trial and error to figure this out. I have helped many clients make the switch who have been able to sustain this diet, achieve better health, and lose excess body fat. To achieve your best results once and for all, I encourage you to connect with me, either through email, Facebook, or Instagram, and we can discuss if my Love Yourself Healthy program, which has helped numerous women see their desired results, is for you. Within this program, we will not only look at your diet and lifestyle as a whole, but get you to the point where making healthy lifestyle choices is no longer a chore, but it's just who you are. Once you complete this program, you will feel healthier, happier, and be well on your way to living your best life. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Until next time, my friends, keep rockin' your wellness. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.